Hi, so coming to you live from my favorite little perch here in Thailand. I'm on a farm that's also a yoga resort retreat center called Maladhara, and so grateful to be here. And I want to talk to you today about this card right here called Projections. I mentioned it in the intro there. So this card mostly comes up when there's some kind of acute emotional trauma triggered for one or both people involved in a relational dynamic. And the first thing that I want you to remember, if that's coming up for you, especially with maybe a parent, one of your parents, your mom or your dad, or with a lover, romantic partner, husband, wife, a child, someone who's actually really, really close to you, it's helpful first when you see this card to realize that everyone involved is having really, really valid needs for authentic emotional expression. They'd really like to be seen. They'd really like to feel themselves. We would all, always in every moment, really like to feel ourselves centered in our own heart, to be able to feel our feelings, which is actually really hard to do in the company of someone who isn't able to hear how we actually feel. So that's where the projection gets really tricky, because we're probably, in a moment of conflict, we're probably not willing to hear what they actually are feeling, or maybe if they feel what they're really feeling, and what they're really feeling is not really interested in us or our process, and that's genuinely what they're feeling, because they don't have space to hear us, then that's going to be really hard, and that's where we get into the nonviolent communication piece and learning about the difference between strategies and needs. So the way it was taught to me is really simple. If I say, I need you, what I need is love. You are my strategy to get my need for love met. And roll with me here, but when you, let's see, how does it go? When you equate a strategy to get a need met with the need itself, when you make them the same thing and you're like, no, you are my need, I need you, then you collapse an abundant universe into one of scarcity. So now suddenly, even though love is all around you, I always think of that Bjork song, all is full of love, it's all around you. Especially here in the tropics, feels very loving, and mango trees and such. And so you've collapsed this abundant universe with lots and lots and lots of strategies that you could possibly employ to get your need for love met, and you've equated it with this specific strategy. I want you to fulfill this need that I have for love. And that way, if you're not available, whoever you are and however you're being, then now I am being forced, which humans do not like to be coerced to do anything. We are wildly, staunchly attached to our free will, and there's good reason for that, because the divinity inside of us is saying, no, like, you are part of God, you are part of all creation, which has complete free will. And that's true, you have access, you do have access to complete free will, but you may not know how to wield it. And looking into these cards is all part of how we do that. So, how we sort of like dismantle all the filters and confusion and layers of negative habits, ways of thinking, perceiving, feeling that block our access to that divinity. So, where am I? Where was I? We're collapsing an abundant universe with lots and lots of strategies into one of scarcity. We're making it a scarcity universe by the way that we're perceiving or projecting and saying, you, I need you. So how do we begin to sort of like clear the entangled mess of that energetically? Because it very well may feel like that's true for you. You're like, no, I need you. And if I don't have you, mom, if you don't fulfill my needs for nurturing and safety, then, I'm screwed. What am I gonna do? And that's super, super valid. And it's true that we live in a world where moms are not always available. There's a lot going on in this world. There's a lot of trauma. So we need to learn how to really be light on our toes and learn how to employ different strategies, get help from therapists, friends, tarot card readers, spiritual practices, healing arts, therapies, nature itself, any and every kind that we can. There are lots and lots of strategies. So another thing that happens in an acute moment of projection is, say you have subtly accused me of something. Maybe you didn't even say it directly, like, you're bad, you're bad. You're doing it wrong. But you said something, the English language is so nuanced sometimes. You said something that implied that I was doing it wrong. And inside of my nervous system, suddenly I'm like shaking, I can't think straight, I can't hear you. They've done studies that prove that when a human being goes into fight or flight and they perceive that they're being attacked, they literally, the auditory functions of their brain, like the part that like connects what you hear into your cognitive, mentally digestible form, shuts down. So even though listening is happening, or rather hearing is happening, like your auditory function is technically working, your eardrum is resonating with the sound of someone's voice, listening is not happening. You cannot actually listen to what someone's saying. That part that goes to that part of your brain that can process and listen to what someone's saying in a moment of perceiving that you've been attacked, impossible. It's actually not possible. So I'm such a logician, I just want to be logical about it, and these things really satisfy my brain so that I can be like, oh right, this is just not gonna work. If I try to show up and express my authentically vulnerable emotional state right now, but it somehow conflicts with yours and it's gonna sound like I'm attacking you or feel like I'm attacking you, you're literally not gonna be able to hear me or digest or process anything that I'm saying. So I just have to find a different strategy. Are we good? Are you hearing what I'm saying here? This is all new to me, to just kind of talk and orate at a screen. I think I'm doing great. So, yeah. What do we do next? The next step is also something I learned in nonviolent communication processes, and my teacher called it hooks. And so, say there's this pole behind me. Imagine that there's a hook, on that pole, and I, take my little thing off here, and I walk over and I hang it up on that hook. So say I walk to the same pole and I have the same sarong here, but there's no hook, and I throw it against the same spot on the pole where there used to be a hook, and now there isn't one. Slides right off, right? There's nowhere for it to go, like water off a duck's back, like the old saying says. And now I want to shift just a little and ask you to think of something that you have never done before. You've absolutely never done it. You've never been around that activity. You have no clue how to do it or whatever. You have no interest in doing it. Okay? So for me, and the example that my teacher used, and it stuck, it's a good one, ice hockey. I've never played ice hockey before. I have no idea how to play. I have no desire to play ice hockey whatsoever. So if someone were to come up to me right now, even my lover, or my best friend, or my sister, or my mother, whoever, and start yelling at me and say, Meredith, you are the absolute worst ice hockey player in the whole world. You suck at ice hockey. You can't play worth a damn. You're awful at ice hockey. I'm going to look at them kind of like they're crazy. I'm going to be maybe concerned about their mental health, because I know I've never even played ice hockey. I'm maybe amused, curious what is going on with them. But in none of those responses will I feel defensive. Why won't I feel defensive? Because I know I've never, ever, ever played ice hockey before. Absolutely not. And so when they throw that at me, I'm not going to have any recognition. Like, my nervous system isn't going to pick it up. I know for sure, 120%, that what they're saying is false. So I have no resonance. I have no, receptor site. I have no hook for that information or for that accusation. Now, obviously, this is a really clear example, and some situations are not so clear. So if someone were to say to me, let me think of something that would actually, get my goat, as they say, or get my back up, or have me feeling defensive, I'll just be vulnerable with you here.